the temple of Artemis at Ephesus. Ephesus, the ruins of it, they are near Ayasoluk in modern Turkey, near the Aegean Sea. And the people there around 2,500 years ago, they worshipped Artemis, or it seems as if she was also called Diana. And they had there of her a statue, and it was symbolizing the productive forces of nature. The people in Ephesus worshipped her as the goddess of fertility. She was the daughter of Zeus in their belief, and also the twin sister of the sun god Apollo. And now they wanted to build a temple, and then the first version was built in the 6th century. And it is then said that also the last king, Lydia Croesus, helped to finance it. It was built by the architects Chersophron and Metagenes, his son Metagenes. But then one day there was, in the same night as Alexander the Great was born, a citizen of Ephesus, and he burned down the temple because he wanted to immortalize himself. They then rebuilt it. It was then rebuilt in the year 323. The people, they all wanted to help, and people sold their jewels, their precious jewels, to finance it. Other kings of other countries donated new columns. Now, when it was again rebuilt, it was 104 meters times 50, and there were 127 18-meter big columns, marble columns. And Alexander the Great said that he would like that if they would write onto it that he would dedicate it to Diana, then he would reimburse the cost of it. But the people tactfully said that not one god should dedicate something to another god. And they also then made a painting of Alexander the Great on his horse. Alexander the Great didn't forge the painting lifelike, but it is said that when his horse neighed at the horse on the painting, and so Alexander the Great changed his mind. Then in the year 232 after Christ, the Goths conquered Ephesus, and the temple was destroyed, and the stones were used for other buildings. And today, after the river had changed its course, it is lying in the flood bed of the river. And that is according to Lena Greggson's Wonders of the World book on the page 23 and 24. The positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entities found. Hi Rebecca, I'm trying to learn ancient history today, the temple of Artemis and at Ephesus, and after we've done with it, we're going to do hip training. And if you participate in the hip training, then it's at your own risk. The temple of Artemis at Ephesus, near the village of Ayasoluk in modern Turkey, not far from the Aegean coast, are the ruins of the ancient Greek city of Ephesus, the most important of the 12 Ionian cities of Asia Minor. So there is Asia Minor, that is today's Turkey mostly. And so Europe, and then there's Turkey. Turkey lies on Europe and Asia. And there were around 2,500 years ago 12 big Ionian cities, so 12 cities. And there's the Aegean coast, I think that is on the east side. And there is Ephesus, the ancient Greek city Ephesus, in a ruin. And that is near Ayasoluk, which seems to be today in Turkey. From early times, Ephesus, so the city there in Turkey, the one which is in ruins, was the center of worship of the goddess Artemis or Diana. So Artemis and Diana are the same people? Is the same person? Okay, so the people living in Ephesus, there in Turkey, adored Artemis, or also called Diana 2,500 years ago. The daughter of Zeus and twin sister of the sun god Apollo, Artemis was the goddess of chastity and hunters. So Artemis or Diana seems to be the same person, was the daughter of Zeus, the Olympian Zeus is here, that was the mightiest of the gods was Zeus of the ancient Greek. So the daughter of Zeus and also the twin sister of Apollo, and Apollo was the sun god. Twin sister. So Apollo was female. Artemis was the goddess of chastity and hunters. But at Ephesus, her characteristics were different. She was worshipped as a goddess of fertility. So the people there worshipped her as a goddess of fertility in Ephesus. Her statue there, which was believed to have fallen from heaven, was a many-breasted idol, symbolizing the productive forces of nature. So there was a statue, and the people thought they had been fallen from from heaven, and that statue was symbolizing the productive forces of nature, so fertility. Artemis was so important to the Ephesians that they built for her a temple which by all accounts must have been the finest in the ancient world. So they built a great temple. So the statue did they thought fall from heaven, and then they built the temple. One writer put it at the top of the list of the world's wonders. Quote, I have seen the walls and hanging gardens of old Babylon, the statue of Olympian Jove, or Zeus, the Colossus of Rhodes, the great labor of the lofty pyramids, and the ancient tomb of Mausolus. But when I beheld the temple at Ephesus towering to the clouds, all these other marvels were eclipsed. So there was a person who claims to have seen also the other 6 wonders, so the pyramids in Giza, the Olympian Zeus, which was in Olympia. Where was it? Not in Athens. Somewhere also in Greek. And it's a pyramid, and the Colossus, the smoke pyramid. The hanging gardens of Babylon, they were in Mesopotamia, or was it Babylon? It is more Iraq, the region. And the Colossus of Rhodes, that was in Egypt, in Alexandria, at the coast. No, the Colossus of Rhodes, that is Colossus of Rhodes. That was the Pharaohs of Alexandria. So that is in Egypt. The Colossus of Rhodes, that is on some island in Greek or something. We did it in the previous part. Okay, and one person says now this Temple of Artemis. Which one here? It's the greatest one. And according to another ancient writer, the temple surpassed every structure raised by human hands. Okay, another person said it was higher than every other structure. Maybe. The great temple of Artemis was rebuilt several times. The first version was built in the 6th century before Christ by the architect Hiptraining and his son Metagenes. So 2,600 years ago, the first version of the temple was built. It was several times rebuilt. Croesus, the last king of Lydia, is said to have contributed some of his legendary wealth to the building. And people say that Croesus also helped to build it financially. In 356 before Christ, the temple was burned down by one Herostratus, an Ephesian citizen who wanted to immortalize himself. Is that true or is that a myth? In the previous part, the book sometimes made use of writing down myths which are possible, but it seems to be that they are more or less unlikely that they actually happened. Now, here's written now, I don't know if it's a proven or a myth, but in 356, someone of his citizens burned it down because he wanted to immortalize himself. That rebuilding was carried out by the joint. How can it be possible to burn down a stone building? Maybe there was many wood. The rebuilding was carried out by the joint efforts. I'm not completely sure if it is true, but I think I heard that I don't know if it was a Parthenon. I think it was a Parthenon, is the name for it. The thing in Athens, the big thing on the big hall. It's not a hall, but it's a long building with pillars in front of it, which is in Athens in Greek. But there was, in the 18th century, that people had there a lot of dynamite and a lot of bombing material in it, and that exploded and that destroyed it. I don't know if it's true. No, it was rebuilt, the temple of Artemis at Ephesus, and by the joint efforts of all the Ionian cities of Asia Minor, ladies sold their jewels to defray the cost. So people sold their jewels, and kings presented the replacement columns. And kings from other areas of Asia Minor or something came and gave columns. The new temple was completed in about 323 before Christ. with an estimated size of 104 meters by 50 meters and 127 marble columns more than 80 meters high. It easily excelled the Parthenon of Athens. One of the temple's greatest admirers was the young conqueror Alexander the Great, who by coincidence had been born on the night of the old temple's destruction. He offered to reimburse, so that sounds a bit more than just a myth, it sounds that there is underlying fact. He offered to reimburse the Ephesians for the entire cost of the rebuilding if they would inscribe his name on the temple as its dedictor. They tactfully refused, saying that it was not right for one god to make dedications to another. So they refused, saying one god cannot dictate another god. To further smooth Alexander's feelings, a painting of him on his horse was commissioned from the artist Ephesus and hung in the temple. So Alexander the Great was born in the night when the temple was destroyed. When it was rebuilt, he asked them to put his name onto it. They said we didn't want to write the name of another god onto the temple for another god, but they made a painting of him on his horse. It is said that Alexander did not think the picture lifelike, but changed his mind when his horse neighed at the horse in the painting. Okay, he saw the picture, didn't really like it, because he thought he was looking differently, but when his horse seemed to have liked it, and so he liked it, is here written. A great advantage for the Ephesians in having this glorious temple was that admirers of Artemis from many countries deposited their wealth there, so that it became, as one writer noted, a common treasury for all Asia. So other people came there who also adored Artemis or Diana. The temple was finally destroyed when the Goths sacked Ephesus in the year 262. This time it was not to be rebuilt, and its ruins were cannibalized for stone for another building. But there is proof to be found of it, because that is a pattern which we have with these 6 of the 7 wonders, I think, so far. I don't know, with all the heads so far, part of the pyramids of Giza. The Hanged Gods of Babylon, there's nothing still there. And the Colossus of the Rhodes, there's nothing still there, apart of maybe some stones in the harbor. Then the Babylons, there's just 1 or 2 little cisterns or something was there. The Pharaohs of Alexandria, there was nothing still there. The pyramids of Giza, they are there. There we have pictures. And the Olympian Zeus that was brought to Greek by Caligula, to Constantinople by Theodorus I, and then destroyed in a fire. They said here the mounds in which the statues were cast were found, and now we're having the temple of Artemis at Ephesus, where the stones were then taken away and used somewhere else. So again, nothing still there. All very big things out of stone, which are no longer there. And with I'm asking, how much proof is there that they existed? Now, it was now the stones were taken for another building. Finally, the site was buried by the changing course of the river. So also the place is by changing course of the river. All that is left of the temple that surpassed every structure raised by human hands is a few fragments of its columns in the British Museum. So I'm saying just a few fragments are there. No, but we're not sure about it. But I wanted to end with one thing. What was it? It makes sense that these buildings existed. At least some of them. If one looks at the buildings still standing from the time built 2,500 years ago, they are that big, have, and like that. So it makes sense that also this temple of Artemis was built. So that's not weird. It makes sense that they existed. If you were here for ancient history, you can go directly to the next part of ancient history, where we start to read the text again and try to puzzle together a little presentation and try to say then what we have read there about the temple of Artemis at Ephesus. If you stay here and participate in the hip training visibility on the screen, the feet are standing together, open with one foot to the side and the other foot, the heels and heels, toes, heels and heels. And again, the toes in, heels, heels. This time stay down in the knees. and up again. Legs a bit to the side and even the arms up. Out and to the side. I don't know if it's stretching, it is stretching. We're doing hip training, what are we doing? The feet are standing shoulder wide apart, down into the knees, legs for legs and press them together. And now straighten one leg. Bend it again. The other leg, straighten it. Bend it again and up. Legs a bit to the side, down into the knee. Knees, flex the legs, press them together. Go over to one leg. And over to the other leg. Middle and up. And legs standing shoulder wide apart and press together now. And now one leg up. Pie and pill crow exercise. Leg to the side, breathe in. Out into the middle, leg down, other leg up. To the side, breathe in. Middle and down. And one leg to the side and lift it off the ground and place it again onto the ground. And with the other leg, up and down. And one hand on tummy, one on lower back, and lift one leg in a straight line up. Try to bring the leg higher and pull the toes in. And pull the leg up. And the other leg. Leg in a straight line. Try to bring the leg higher, pull the toes in. And pull the leg up. And stand good on one leg, the other leg up, and press up and to the side. And the other leg, up and to the side. And now stand good, turn over to the leg, down onto the knee, over to the other side, up again, change the other leg. Stand good, turn over, down, over, and up. And stand good and reach always with the heel to imaginary 90-minute intervals of the dial of the clock. And with the other leg, 12 o'clock, 1:30 and 3, 10:30 and 9 o'clock, 7:30 and 6 o'clock, 4:30 and 3 o'clock. And the toes are pointing to the outside, in the arms up. Breathe out and sink down. Hands onto the ground. Come with the back up. And roll slowly with the round back up. Leg at the top, backward shoulder roll. Now time, arms up. Sink down. Hands onto the ground. Come with the back up. And roll slowly with the round back up. At the top, backwards shoulder roll. Legs to sides, breathing down. Out. In and close the legs. And out. That was the hip training. I thank you very much and until next time.